re-recording this because I forgot to plug in my microphone. Hey everyone, it's Nicole from Nicole Loves Nails. Welcome to my channel. So today's video is for the newest release from Holo Taco. I have their Down to Earth collection. Bundle. Down to Earth bundle. So before we get into today's video, I got a couple of things to mention. The first being, if you are new around here, hi, my name is Nicole. It is wonderful to meet you and thank you very much for clicking on today's video. Do consider hitting subscribe if you enjoy nail polish related content as well as lifestyle related content. I upload new videos every single week on Tuesdays and Saturdays, except for this week because today's video is going up on Wednesday. But usually it's Tuesdays. And I also go live on Sundays. If you are in fact a returning subscriber, welcome back. How are you doing? Oh, I am screaming again. And yes, got another Twilight shirt on for today. Why does my light... This is the second time I'm recording this, and this is the third time this light... Why is it going out? You're plugged in. Okay, update. Apparently, I did not, in fact, plug it in.
My bad, I'm sorry.
Don't ask how many Twilight shirts I have at this point, because it's more than 5, and I'm hoping it's less than 10. I honestly don't know anymore. In case anyone wants to grab this, I'll have a link for it in the description box, because this is from one of my favorite sellers on Etsy. So the products featured in today's video were sent to me by Holo Taco for the purpose of creating some content for them. This video is not sponsored, but I did receive these from the brand. And as always, all thoughts and opinions are my own. So the Down to Earth bundle is 6 polishes plus 1 flaky topper. These all scream fall. It is fall. I mean, it's not technically fall, but in my heart, it is currently fall. As always, down in the description box, I will have links to where you can pick these up. They are available right now on the Holo Taco website. I will also have links to the Holo Taco social media pages, my social media pages, as well as a link to my blog post on NicoleLovesNails.com, where I host all of my swatch photos, as well as provide a written review, and of course, timestamps are in the description box as well. Let's just get into this video. First up, we have Lowkey Blushing. I will describe the color of this one as like a pinky neutral that has this a little bit of gray in it. This is the kind of color that I think of when I hear like the phrase office appropriate fall neutral. This is very much not the kind of color that I personally gravitate towards, or I can admit that it is a really pretty color on the nail. Both formula application were pretty great for this one. However, it is a little bit streaky. It does self-level very nicely, but still it is a little bit streaky. I generally find colors like this tend to be streaky, so I wasn't terribly surprised by those streaks. I do think this one's going to be a 2 to 3 coater depending on application style and personal preference. I thought my only nail that was streaky was my middle nail. Looking at my footage, I can see some dark spots on all of my nails except for the middle nail, but seeing how my middle nail is the only nail that got a 3rd coat, I am not surprised by that. With that 3rd coat, I found all of the unevenness and streakiness disappeared for me, so again, 2 to 3 coater depending on application style and personal preference. Removal for this one is going to be very easy. I had no problems with staining. You will want top coat for a nice glossy finish. And now we have Brick Wall, which I'll describe as a warm toned brick red cream. I was pleasantly surprised at just how opaque this one was. It wasn't quite a 1 coater, but it was very, very close. I found both the formula and application on this one to be perfect. And as with pretty much all of the Holo Taco creams, this one self-leveled perfectly. Was also slightly on the thicker side, which I tend to find is pretty common with Holo Taco creams. I generally prefer my creams to be on the thicker side, so I absolutely love the formula application on this one. If you are unaware, I am not generally the biggest lover of red polishes, but I have found myself really enjoying reds as of late. Only nitpick about this one is I wish it was either a little bit darker or a little bit less warm. I found that because my undertones tend to be fairly warm, found in warmer tone lighting that it really made my hands look very orangey, and that's generally my biggest complaint about reds. I don't like my hands looking orangey. That's just a personal preference thing on colors on me, so that might not be a problem for you. That is 2 coats of Brick Wall plus glossy top coat. While I personally did not experience any staining with this one, this is a very pigmented color, so I would highly suggest wearing a base coat or doubling up if your nails are particularly prone to staining. And here is a super quick comparison from Brick Wall to some of the other Holo Taco red creams. This is obviously the darkest in the bunch. Next up, we have Stay Grounded, which I'll describe as like a camel brown cream. I do not have enough words to describe just how happy I am that Holo Taco is releasing another brown. On top of being a brown, I really feel like this is leaning very heavily towards the Prugly category, which makes me very, very happy. Formula and application on some were both fantastic. This was actually a 1 coater for me. In typical Holo Taco fashion, the cream was a little bit on the thicker side, super easy application for me, and I found it self-leveled like a dream. I do want to to note, I did find that this one dries down a little bit darker on the nail than it looks in the bottle. Isn't really a big deal, but it is definitely something to note. That is 2 coats plus glossy top coat of Stay Grounded. No issues with staining, super easy removal. I had a strong feeling a lot of people are going to wonder how this one compares to Magical Mustache from the Julian collab from last year. They're not dupes, they are not super similar in my personal opinion. I feel like both colors give off a different look on the nail. Speaking of Pruglies, next up we have Not Pressed. I'll describe this one as like that weird 1970s like Prugly green that for whatever reason people really liked having in carpets. That's this color. Like the people who didn't get to like go to their friends' houses and see like the brown and green carpeting are going to be so confused by that color description. But if you know, you know. For the farming folk out there, this one is Calf Scour Green. And if you don't know what that is, I do not recommend looking it up.
Don't do it. You'll regret it, man. Trust me.
The base for this one was also a little bit on the thicker side. I found it self-leveled a little bit slower than the other polishes in this release, but it did self-level. Purchased a lot of colors kind of similar to this one, and I kind of feel like the formula and application on this one is very similar to the other ones. Colors like this tend to have a lot of yellow in the base, and that tends to make them not to be quite as like buttery smooth application as other colors. Be a 2 to 3 coater depending on application style and your nail length, and also personal preference. While I did not personally experience staining with this one, I did have to do a little bit of scrubbing in my cuticle crevices to get all of the pigment out, so definitely wear base coat and use the soak off method to really make sure you're not scrubbing the pigments into your nail. Because of its more Prugly nature, I really feel like this color is more unique to the Holo Taco lineup, so I didn't really have any other creams that were that similar in color to this one. And now we have Modest Moss, which I'll describe as something between an evergreen green and like a moss green. It's somewhere in between the two of those. Found coverage for this one was fantastic. Not quite a 1 coater, but I have a feeling after a few uses it likely will be a 1 coater. Feeling again was a little bit on the thicker side, but what I generally come to expect from a Holo Taco cream. I found application to be fantastic. It self-leveled perfectly. I went back and forth on how much I really like this one. Like, it's not a color that I really gravitate strongly towards, but I thought it was really nice on the nail. It does dry down a little bit darker than it applies, but not drastically so. I swatched this one in 2 coats plus glossy top coat. Once again, super pigmented. I would highly recommend wearing base coat to prevent any staining. I feel like out of all the colors in this release, this is going to be the one that people are going to say Holo Taco is duping themselves the most with. Won't lie, I also thought this was going to be very similar to Monstera from last year's Julian collab. Side by side, you can see that they aren't dupes for each other. The shades of green are different, and this one seems to have a slight bit of grayness to the undertone, but I also think you probably don't need both unless either you really like greens or you're a collector of nail polish. And now we have Nightshade, which I'll describe as like a dusty purple shade. I pretty much love any color that has that like dusty gray tonedness to it, and I really liked this one. This also had fantastic coverage on that first coat, but it wasn't quite a 1 coater. Like all of the other creams, it was slightly on the thicker side, but I found application very easy. Self-leveled very nicely as well. I know fall is full of like warm tones, but I'm so used to Holo Taco doing so many cool tone things that I was really surprised at how warm toned so many of these polishes were, which I am not mad at all. I know I usually prefer cool tone purples, but I thought this one was very pretty. This is another one that is very pigmented. While I did not personally experience any staining, I would definitely recommend wearing base coat to prevent staining on your natural nails. I didn't really have anything in my Holo Taco cream collection that was similar in color to this one. I pulled out Work Besties, but they're not really that similar. And the final polish we have is called Fallen Flake Taco. This is a multi-chrome flake topper. The color shifts on this one are very much like fall leaves. So you have like reds, browns, oranges, coppers, a little bit of yellow, and a hint of green at extreme angles. The flakies all spread very evenly and easily. They do not dry down textured like a glitter. You will definitely still want top coat just to make sure everything is nice and smooth. The flakies are all fairly small, so you get really nice coverage in just 1 coat. The polish itself is in a clear base, so even if you build this one up, you don't get full opacity. If you were really committed to full coverage, I suppose you could also sponge this one on if you really wanted. I think I like it best in 1 coat as a topper, but on my ring finger I have it in 2 coats as like an accent nail kind of thing. Flakies will not be difficult to remove, and you could scrub them off if you really wanted, but they will have a tendency to stick to your skin and nails. The colors all together also make for a really cute Skittle Manny, which is what you are seeing here. Alrighty, so final thoughts. If you could not tell already, I love fall releases. I don't feel like I always loved fall releases, but I feel like the longer I have been keeping track of all the brands, summer releases and fall releases plus Halloween releases tend to be my favorites of the entire year. And this release screams fall. I really loved it. I loved it. I am particularly excited that Holo Taco has a couple of Prugly shades to the lineup. The color story is very typical fall release color stories, which I am not mad at one bit. I did see some folks in my Discord talking about how this release is kind of similar to the Holo Taco Tea Cremes collection. Looking at the two releases side by side, I can kind of see how they're kind of similar, but I don't really think they're all that similar, really, in my opinion. Like, they're not similar in the sense that if you have one, you don't need the other. The color stories are kind of similar, but in my opinion, these color stories are very just like typical fall releases, so take with that information where you will. Without a doubt, my top pick from this release is going to be Not Pressed. I love that Prugly shade of like yellowy green. I feel like it could be a little bit stronger towards the Prugly end, but I feel like it's just odd enough that people are either gonna really like it or really hate it.
This is disgusting. I like it though.
I'm really hoping that this one is a top seller from the release, because I would be so happy if Holo Taco actually like released some more like actual Prugly shades. I would be a very happy camper. And then my second top pick is going to be Stay Grounded. Those are definitely beautiful colors. And also, if you've been hearing me say Prugly this entire video and have no idea what I'm talking about, a Prugly polish is when you have a pretty ugly polish, you put them together, Prugly. That's what it is. And while Modest Moss is not particularly a color I would pick out for me, I do appreciate that Holo Taco is kind of giving people options to some of the colors that were previously released like in years past that were limited edition. Because if you weren't here for the last time Holo Taco did a collab release, they went real quick, very quick, and it's almost impossible now to get those at a price that's like a fair price on the resale market, because some of y'all are acting up on Mercari, eBay, Facebook on reselling those polishes. I see you and I'm judging you.
Bombastic side eye. Criminal offensive side eye.
I mean, I'm joking, but I'm also not. Because seriously, I am judging you just a little bit. But you know, do what you want. Do what you want. I would love to know what everyone else thought of this release. Are you planning on picking it? Have you already picked it up? You know the drill. Let me know what everyone's thinking of this release. Before we end today's video, I do want to give a very special shout out to my channel members. Besties, just thank you all so much. You guys are truly amazing, and your names are all on the screen right now. And please don't forget, we have a members only stream happening this Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're a channel member, I'll see you guys on Friday. We're going to be showing some upcoming sneaky peekies, just a little. Just FYI. But please don't feel pressure to sign up for channel memberships. You know, just like the video, comment, share, do all of the things, and we are good. Seriously, like that really does help the channel out a lot. So just thank you all so very much for watching today's video. I hope everyone has a fantastic week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!